What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting these possibilities for you to consider, enabling you to come up with your own conclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, code breakers around the world, wherever you may be, my name is Logan. I'm going to be your tour guide for this presentation, a very special one. The Aliens and the Scalpel Decoded. Those of you that just watched the podcast with Jason and I many hours ago, was yesterday now because I'm shooting this at 2 a.m, but I've been working on this presentation inspired by something that Jason mentioned during the time we shared together. It was on this book called The Aliens and the Scalpel. You know Jason loves his books. And I had read some of this book a long time ago, and I forgot about it because I don't really study UFOs that much. And you know how it is, life gets in the way. Anyways, this is what promulgated me to do this presentation. I have friends that have been abducted. I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. You probably have people that you know or have read about. Maybe you have gotten abducted. What's going on with all of this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to show you here is my final answer of us living in a predestined world. We're living through a movie, a screenplay, a game. It's called life. So welcome out all of the members of the Archaics family. If you're new here, I'm going to do my best to lay this presentation out for you. So during this podcast right here, this one, that he invited me on to do, he mentions this book. So I want to just give you kind of the synopsis of this book, and then we're going to move into the presentation. If you'll read with me, it says, The Aliens and the Scalpel by Dr. Roger Leir presents his investigations into alleged alien implants surgically removed from people claiming abduction experiences. Blending medical observation with UFO research, Lear documents surgeries in which small metallic or crystalline objects were extracted from patients who showed no entry wounds but displayed unusual biological reactions and electromagnetic readings. Laboratory analysis reportedly revealed non-terrestrial isotopic ratios, nano-structures, and unusual energy emissions, which he interpreted as evidence of extraterrestrial monitoring or communication technology implanted in humans. Now, if you want to go further with this, you can read the book for free online, but there's this one right here called The Smoking Gun. I think Jason may even mention this. I'll try to leave the link in the description of this video so you can click on it. But they have images in here, and I can't verify if these are real images, but what I'm about to show you with the code is going to blow your mind. So let's get started with this. I'm going to start here. If you're new to this channel, you may not know that I'm big into timestamps to support that we don't have the choices that we think we have. We've looked at movies, we looked at music, we stop when things happen in movies and we do some things with the timestamps because it's all code, it's all numbers. Well, this is exactly the moment when Jason finishes saying Roger Leir. I press pause, and I would encourage you to go fact check this. I know some of you will. That's great. I want you to be skeptical. But this is the very first time he says Roger Leir, and I press pause. And the timestamp is 34 minutes and 40 seconds. The 34 was the big standout. It's going to add up to 74, and I could go gangbusters with that. But the 34-minute marker was the key layer here. And I know Jason's not trying to look at his clock to say these words to get it to come out this way. I already know that to be true. But the 34, ladies and gentlemen, the very first layer of this is one of the tools that I use as a code breaker, and that is a typical deck of playing cards. And these playing cards, there are 52 of them, and there are 52 weeks in a year. There are 4 suits, there are 4 seasons. They are highly accurate when you're trying to do code breaking. Well, lo and behold, Jason being born on June 9th, the 160th day of the year, his birth card, I have it highlighted, is the 8 of diamonds. Now, I want to just be very transparent. So here is the boilerplate chart for all of the cards on the calendar. And yours is going to be in here. Here's June, and I'm going to come down to the 9th, and there's Jason's card right there, the 8 of diamonds. It sits in the master life spread, which is ground zero for all the cards. It sits at the very dead center of what's called the crown line. This is the crown line. He literally sits at the pupil, the center point of the card system, and he sits in the Zeus line, aka Jupiter. Just so happens to be the largest planet in the solar system, and it's huge in astrology. It's all about expansion, and it's the only planet that has the great red spot on it. Well, lo and behold, if you haven't caught it yet, see, Jason mentions Roger Leir's name for the first time at 34-minute mark. And wouldn't you know it, if you add up Roger Leir's birthday and his death day, go ahead and add it up. It's pretty easy. What's 20 and 14? 34. Now, I want to be clear. I didn't bring this book up. Jason brought it up. It was on his mind. Where did his ideas come from? Why did he mention it? And how am I able to show these connections? I'm just getting started. So if you find this interesting, I'd encourage you to keep watching. Because like I said, I'm just getting warmed up. So what we do here at Decode Your Reality, again, if you're new, we do forensic decoding. Like, if you're into forensics, like crime and all that kind of stuff, you can collect samples, DNA, and you could trace it back. And this is how people solve crimes. Well, this is exactly what we do here at Decode Your Reality. We look at the code and we get the forensic. We get what the patterns are that are left behind, which is what we've done here. 34 minutes, he mentions Roger Leir. His birth card is the 34th card in the deck. And when you add up Roger Leir's birthday and death day, it's 34. Why is this happening? How is it happening? I know Jason's not in the big conspiracy to try to dupe you. No, see, this is the code that plays out, that we're all following in this reality. So let me show you really quickly before we get into the presentation, the methodologies, because I know some of you here are just here for the first time from the Archaics community, and this is what we do here. We connect the dots. As forensic decoders, what we do is we have our tools here. And the tools that we have are just taking things in our reality and connecting them. So this is really in no particular order. Well, this is what we're going to be doing for this presentation. We're going to be bringing in some mythology. We're going to be bringing in alchemy. We're going to be bringing in numerology. See, we just simply connect the Olympian Zeus. 54 is connected to the 54th element called xenon. We can also bring in the playing cards, which I already showed you. The 3 of diamonds, card number 29, connects to the 67th card in the tarot, the 3 of pentacles. You're going to see these in this presentation. We're also going to be looking at real life. Yeah, because Roger Leir was a real guy. He was a real doctor. He was a real UFO person. And then we're also going to be looking at locations. Locations on a map, ley lines. These are really important when you're breaking code. This is what we're going to connect for this presentation. So let's go back to Roger Leir. This is the highlight of the presentation, the book that Jason mentioned during the podcast and our time we spent together. The Aliens and the Scalpel. It's a fascinating read. I would highly encourage you to go. You can get it for free online. Go read it. And again, he's known not just as a surgeon, but as a UFOologist. And his big claim to fame was alien implants. Now, what's fascinating about this is that his name, his birth certificate name, his birth certificate name equals, in the most important, the most accurate numerology cipher that I know of, and so many other code breakers know of, Chaldean, is 51. His birth certificate name, ladies and gentlemen, is 51, which is exact. And we talked about Area 51 during the podcast. Jason and I did quite a bit. And underground aliens and the aspects of DNA manipulation. Why this place is, heavily guarded. What they're doing over there. Not just here. We talked about Stonehenge, it being at 51 degrees latitude north, and London being there, and Greenwich time. See, right off the bat, when I see a connection like this, and this is what we were talking about, and I never met Roger Leir. I don't know the guy personally, and I know Jason doesn't know him, but he mentions him, and then we do the forensic decoding, and this is a trail left behind that was already left as a breadcrumb that we can follow. So we're just getting started with this, but this is a humdinger extraordinaire right here. And I know Jason's going to watch this, and he's going to be like, wow, that's pretty impressive. It is impressive. It's not me doing it, though. This is what my responsibility is to show this stuff. So let's go back to the card charts. And now I'm going to introduce to you not just Jason's card and the Master Life spread, but there's also the Master Spirit spread. These two charts are the two charts that start the card system off. There's 90 of these solar spreads that cover your birthday. It's a system that you can gauge how your year's going to go. But these are ground zero. And the Master Spirit spread governs the Master Life spread. So when you look to find your birth card in the Master Life spread, you just look in the same position in the Master Spirit spread, and that is the card that governs your life card. And wouldn't you know it, that Jason's Spirit card is the Queen of Spades, which is card number 51, tied to Area 51. Now, to show you the numbers on these cards, because I want to be very transparent, this is the numerical value for each and every one of these cards. And you can get these charts for free on the Cosmic Sugar website. But there's the Queen of Spades card number 51. And there's Jason's birth card, card number 34. So instantly and automatically, Jason Bashir's, the great Jason Bashir's, the mind of Jason, he's already attached to Area 51 by way of this card system. Now, if you've never used this, I can see how people easily would dismiss it. Like, but these cards are circulated around the world. They're actually, this system was created by the French, the suits that we know today. But nonetheless, they're very accurate. And just reading the forensics on this shows the Area 51 connection. Okay, we're just getting warmed up with this. Let's go back to the book that he mentions. The title of the book, what's the numerology of it? 82. I want to go somewhere with this because we can definitely do the breakdown of what the 8 and 2 is. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, this 82 points right to this guy's birthday through mathematics. When we go to the number 421 in mathematics, it's the 82nd prime number. Now, what are prime numbers? They're standalone numbers. They're king or queen numbers, meaning 421 is only divisible by itself and the number 1. It's like a royal number. Prime numbers are royal numbers. They're very, very important. And the name of his book, 82, attaches to that 421. And let's go back to his birthday. You see the 421 in his birthday? The 0 means infinite potential, but there's that 4, 2, and 1. Now, the question I would ask here to you as the observer, do you think Roger was sitting down with Chaldean numerology to name his book beforehand because he wanted to get it to come out this way? Well, that'd be a great story, but that would mean that he would be able to pick his death day because he wrote the book when he was alive. So it would be an impossibility for him to pick the book title based upon the numerical value of 82 because he was still alive when he wrote it. But this is the screenplay. This is the forensics that we look at here at this channel to show you the breadcrumbs that are left behind on a screenplay that he had to play out called Roger Leir, just doing his job and responsibility. But it just doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. We can go to some Greek mythology. And we can look to this word called ambrosia. In ancient Greek, they said that the food for the gods was called ambrosia. They were feeding off of humans. So I had this image drawn up to give you the idea. See, I feel the ambrosia is our emotional reactions to the experiences that we have by way of love, fear, joy, grief, suffering, pain, happiness. This is what the Greeks meant by this. And why I'm showing you this is because the connection is attached to the implants that Roger Leir allegedly took out of people that were abducted. The implants being tied to food for the gods. The implants being tied, essentially, we've talked about it here, your brain is the implant. You don't even have to have an implant in your body that was put there. Your mind is your implant. This is the version of Westworld. The show Westworld. That's the idea behind this. So we just keep going with this. And now we go more to Greek mythology. We stick with the Greek and we go to this symbol right here. This is the symbol of Zeus, aka Jupiter. And this symbol is made up of these numbers right here. Because you have the number 4, you have the number 2, and you have the number 1. So Zeus's symbol in astrology is the makeup of the 4, the 2, and the 1, which is exactly the numbers this man has in his birthday and his death day. And that matches through the primes the numerical output for the title of his book. These are not coincidences. These are not conspiracies. This is the screenplay that is played out in his life. So we go into mainstream now. Now we're going to connect something that has nothing to do with Roger Leir, but it has everything to do with him. Have you ever seen this movie? 1988. John Carpenter's classic movie, They Live. We've broken this movie down. I need to redo it again. Years ago. And the synopsis of this amazing movie was there was a race of aliens, you could say reptilians, living amongst the world, and they were broadcasting a hypnotic trance from cable news station 54. And when you take this 54, because you got to do something with it, well, you can see that in ancient Greek, this is Zeus. And then we connect chemistry to that because the periodic table, alchemy, is absolutely magical when you break down the code. The first element that comes to mind is the 54th element called xenon. You could spell Zeus with that. Jesus and Zeus and xenon. Well, xenon's average isotope is 131.293. And this 131, simply connecting the dots, goes to the 1973 album that came out on March 1st, the same year Jason and I were born, Pink Floyd's classic Dark Side of the Moon. And Roger Waters, who wrote the song Brain Damage, which was song number 9, and the 9th house is Sagittarius, ruled by Zeus. This is one of the pieces of the lyrics that he wrote in Brain Damage. There's someone in my head, but it's not me. Now we're talking about implants. We're talking about the thoughts that you're having, because you're having thoughts. Right now, you're having thoughts. You may think I'm crazy. You think this guy's whacked out. You might find this interesting. You might think I'm a crack. But as a code breaker, these are the forensics. There's someone in my head, but it's not me, is 131. That's the isotope for xenon. And you can see here, this was part of another decode, possession. You've heard of this. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Is there something possessing you? I know a lot of you say, no, not me, not me. Nope, no, I'm completely in control of my life. Well, certainly the forensics that we're showing says otherwise. There's someone in my head, but it's not me. This was broadcasting a hypnotic trance, and his book, The Aliens and the Scalpel, was about an implant, which goes back to the ambrosia, which was food for the gods, which to me are the emotions that we give off of love, fear, sadness, grief, happiness, bliss, joy, whatever. So this movie, They Live, here's one of the scenes. I hope all of you have watched this classic movie. This is what happened when Roddy Piper, the main actor, put glasses on to see the signs and what they really said. The glasses was the weapon of choice to see through the code that you couldn't see through. Behind these signs, or on these signs, when you put the glasses on, this is what you saw. These were the subliminal messages that you didn't see without the glasses. Or with the glasses, you would see them. So again, the idea of this and They Live was that people are in trances. This would be, I would imagine, what Jason would call the AIX and the dungeon programming and the collective and all that kind of stuff. But does it just stop here? Well, that's something that you'd have to decide upon. So what I did was, I'm like, okay, well, can we really get forensics from this? Yep. Let's compare They Live, which was a movie about reptilians and living amongst us and obviously aliens, and compare it to Roger Leir's birthday. So They Live came out on November 4th, 1988. Roger Leir, born on March 20th. The eerie connection between this, ladies and gentlemen, and I have the chart right there, and I have them all highlighted, is that, and again, what are the odds, right? What are the odds that Roger and They Live, the release of it, both have the same birth card? The Three of Diamonds. What are the odds that would be the case? One guy is the removal of implants, and They Live is about obey, consume, and literally maybe having an implant in your mind. I just think it's the mind. Well, it goes deeper than this, because the clue is in the tarot. That Three of Diamonds converts into the Three of Pentacles. Again, more tools that we can use for the forensics. The Three of Pentacles is card number 67. These tarot cards as well are all numbered. Here it is, card 67. These are all numbered in the classical order of the tarot. Card 67, the Three of Pentacles. This was super fascinating because of these connections right here. So we go right to Area 51. Keeping it on the same topic. Seeing that not only does underground aliens equal 67, and not only does the Yod Elohim from the Old Testament equal 67, but the two elements, and you can do this with your location of where you were born, the two elements that make up the latitude, longitude of Area 51, the names of these two elements equals 67. And we're talking about aliens, we're talking about implants by aliens, and we're talking about messages to control the world. This was the idea of this. But of course, you go even further than that. The ideas that are being presented in your mind, those are controlling you because you listen to them. I know some of you say, well, I'm going to stop listening. No, you won't. Because you will take some of those ideas and you will move towards them. Some for good, some for whatever. So what I would encourage you to do the same thing. This element right here, by the way, how I know this to be accurate is because this 115 element, which matches the longitude of Area 51, this is the element that Bob Lazar, who claims to have worked at Area 51, he said on the Joe Rogan podcast that this element is what made UFOs move. I didn't tell him, I didn't write that. I didn't say that. I'm not taking that out of context. This is exactly what he says. So I know, as a forensics decoder, I know that this is legit. And because I know this is legit, I know this is legit. And that means I know this is legit because it makes sense. Because, of course, Area 51 would be about having underground aliens there. And the final piece here, which is a mighty big one, which really gets you thinking, is could it be that the Bible, and Jason and I talked about this on our podcast, could the Bible have been written by AI or an extraterrestrial race? Can't rule it out, and there's strong evidence that supports that. Massive amount of evidence now supports that due to these connections that we have found through the forensic decoding. But let's keep going. Let me show you some more. So let's do the numerology. These are called the life paths. This is the solar life path, by the way. Because I know some of you are going to be like, wait a minute, how are you getting these numbers? Roger Leir was born on March 20th, 1935. That was a common year. And I'm using the solar life paths. November is the 9th month because March is the first month it's also the 13th month. So I'm going to come back to this. I want to show you, because some of you be like, how are you getting these outcomes? Let me show you. So these images right here, these are real images of the sun taken on the same day of every month for 12 months. And you can clearly see that these create this sidewinder pattern. This is the dragon wave. The great dragon got hurled down, tied to the sun. The S pattern, this is where you get the dollar bill sign. And in the Tropic of Cancer, where Lear was born, he was born in the month of March, but the caveat is he was born one day prior to the spring equinox, which means that he's the 13th month. Because there is a calendar, which is, to me, this true solar calendar, 13 months, 28 days per month. I think this is closer, from my research, than the Gregorian calendar. Doing countless readings for people and them even giving me the feedback on this. So this may change your life path. It will change your life path, all of you. And the majority of you will give the nod to the solar life path. So because Roger Leir was born one day prior to the spring equinox, 1936, or 1935, I'm sorry, it was March 21st it started on. So he's one day prior. And that means that he has the 13th month. So I want to make that clear. So going back to that, we just add all the digits up. November is the 9th month, the 4th day, 1988. Roger Leir, the 13th month, the 20th day, 1935. That gives us a total of 207. You can break them all down from an individualistic perspective, but it's 207. This is going to reduce down to the number 9. I go back to what's the 9th zodiac sign in astrology? Sagittarius. Ruled by who? Zeus. Jupiter. The largest planet in the canopy. The king of the gods. But it's not just that, ladies and gentlemen. We go back to chemistry, and you see it's this element called lead. This is lead's average isotope, 207. And it goes right back to the title of the freaking book, man. 8282. See, if I would have just shown this and that's it, well, then maybe you could say, well, you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. But no, when you do the proper numerology of the days on the calendar and the way this is set up in nature, these are absolutely huge in the world of code breaking. These are absolutely massive in the world of code breaking. So we go back to this they live to get another perspective, another layer to this. And it wasn't just Zeus connecting that 54 to cable 54, which broadcasted the hypnotic trance to tell you to obey, consume, don't ask questions, procreate. But it was also tied to this word in Hebrew. Now we go back to the Old Testament, called the pineal. And this word is the word for pineal, which is right here from Genesis 32 verses 30. This is Jacob, and Jacob is going to lead to Israel. Jacob becomes the nation of Israel. And Jacob says, I have seen God face to face. And he calls it pineal. This is the face of God. It's the pineal gland. And this is big because the pineal gland, ladies and gentlemen, that's why it's so revered in these ancient texts, the pine cone. It controls when you go to sleep and when you wake up. And that is about light and darkness. That is about the yin and the yang. And if you can really use your logic and critical thinking about going deeper with that and really think about what I'm telling you here, about this being connected to the pineal gland and the movie that you're playing out by way of your experiences, you're going to have more keys to this. We've talked about this 54 in the pineal tied to Genesis 32 verses 30, so many times on this channel. So many times on this channel. So let's get to the tail end of this now. And I have a lot going on here, so let me narrate this for you. I went ahead and I decoded this character right here, the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh in the Bible. The God of the Jewish and Christian Bible is the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. And what this led to, and you can watch this presentation on the YouTube, this led to Zeus. Now it's beyond that, but it's tied to the king of gods in Greek mythology. His name is Zeus. And so in that presentation, we took the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton, the Yod, the He, the Vav, and the He from Hebrew, and then we connected it to chemistry. Now, why would we do that? Well, because the periodic table is connected to our bodies, because we need 60 minerals every day for the body to function in the correct mannerism. So these elements are essential, not all of them, but they're essential for our well-being, and they literally create the reality around us. We're digging these metals up in the ground. We're making them into artificial intelligence. They're a big deal. So we can easily take and just connect. That's all we're doing. We can connect these outcomes to the elements on the periodic table that correspond. So the Yod is neon, Neos, Neo, the savior in the Matrix. We have the He, which is boron. We have the Vav, which is carbon. We're carbon-based life forms. And then we have the He repeating again. And again, you can go watch the full presentation on the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, and I give more of a detailed description of what this means. Here is the total. When you add up 10, 5, 6, 5, you get 26. And, is this a coincidence that the implant is tied to this idea? Well, when you do the molar mass and you add up neon, boron, carbon, and boron, you're going to get 54 again. So you see, this is not like, if this is something new for you, it's something new for you. But those of you that have been here for a while, you know that this is not the first time, the 10th time. I've shown this countless times now. This technique as a code breaker is called alchemology. It's numerology with alchemy. We've named it alchemology. And it's legit. And it's tied to Zeus. It's tied to Zeus, ladies and gentlemen. The king of the gods is tied to the king of the Bible. Lightning bolts, the ninth sign, the largest planet in the solar system. And as you have seen already, how it's tied to They Live and the implant and all that. And News Station 54. See, again, here at Decode Your Reality, we just simply connect things. And we try to make sense of them. And when the evidence is strong like this, the face of God is called this. And the numerology in the original Hebrew is this. And the original name in the ancient Greek for Zeus and the numerical output is the same 54. Well, there's strong evidence to suggest that what this movie was trying to say was that the hypnotic trance was coming in through your brain, the thoughts that you're having, by way of the king of the gods. Well, I think this is the last slide I have here for all of you. When you do the numerology of boron, carbon, boron, and neon, you're going to get the number 88, which goes to this element right here called radium, Ra. Now, Ra is typically known as the sun god. But is it just that? Well, in ancient Egypt, we're told that's what it is. But is it just that? Because Ra is tied to many other things. And now we have confirmation that it's tied to not only the yode, but it's tied to Zeus. And we also have strong evidence that it's tied to movies and movies about aliens that live amongst us. And we also have evidence that it's tied to real people who write real books on topics about alien abduction and the removal of implants. See, all of these things as they connect, nature, all of these things as they connect, locations on a map. When we start to get these connections, they support and they provide strong evidence of not only living in a movie, living in a scripted reality, but it shows strong evidence of what's running and operating this reality. Given these ideas that we have and these tools that we've been presented with. So now the next time you watch this movie, you might look at it with a different set of eyes. Because all of these layers, ladies and gentlemen, now really kind of provide a different narration that you may not have looked at before. But I already know Roger Leir is not trying to get one past you. He's not in a big conspiracy. He's simply a doctor and a writer. But of course it comes out this perfect because something outside of this reality is writing the screenplay. It's writing the script. And just like the ancient Greeks and the ambrosia, which was food for the gods, this is tied to the implant in our brain. And how we started this whole thing off was Jason mentioning Roger during our time together. And I thought this one was so big. This connection of the 51 is absolutely, it's just mind-blowing. And how does it come out this way? Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, my final answer is that we live in a scripted reality. And what happened here during this time that we spent together, it was supposed to happen. All right, so that's my presentation. We got more to go. I have a full presentation. It's going to be coming out on the Patreon, going deeper with the underground aliens. So this is kind of just a taste of the aliens and the scalpel. But I hope you enjoyed this presentation, ladies and gentlemen. I don't expect everybody to just agree with everything I say. Do your own homework. If this interests you and you want to learn how to decode, just start watching the videos. You'll learn. The Patreon is where it's at. We have closing in on 200 videos that you're not going to find here on YouTube. All the big heavy hitters. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you later.